going in the direction of your fears and why that's kind of important. um, it's an interesting topic, and I think it's something that doesn't get kind of discussed enough. People typically think of success, think of someone who's achieved success, and think of like all the kind of things that they have. And today we have a social media culture, and you kind of see people, notable people, like they're flashing like a certain kind of lifestyle. So you become a millionaire and you show that you have this kind of lifestyle, and it looks glamorous and appealing, and it looks like they've made it. But if you talk to people who've become quote unquote successful and who continue to go on to surpass what they've gotten and like continue to achieve, like you'll find that these people, they kind of, what was I gonna say? There's like a weird guy outside. um, they like have a certain amount of success and they keep going. So if you ask these people like what their secret is or what it takes, like they'll tell you is that you've never made it. A quote that I like is that, like, with success you've never really made it, and it's like you're always just playing the game at like a higher level. Ray Dalio, kind of the CEO of Bridgewater, like he said that quote, and I think that's kind of true, that you've never really made it, but you're playing the game at a higher level. But what that means is, so those people, if you're at a higher level, you still have all the same problems, still have all the same struggles like you did when you were new and you didn't know what you were doing. It's just it's the same thing, but it's at like a higher level. But like those people have to face fears. Successful people do just as much as the rookie does. I feel like technically I'm someone who has been quote unquote successful, or like once you've had successes, then you learn that you have to continually go, and you get some downtime here, some downtime there, but in general you face moments where you have to make decisions where it's something that's really scary and you're literally afraid of it and you don't want to do it, and you're very afraid, but you talk to other people, you get other people's perspectives, you weigh out the pros and cons, and you see that, yeah, this is scary as hell, scary as shit, but it's what I need to do. And then you go and you have courage and you face your fear and you go and do it. And then when you do it, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but at the same time it forces you to grow, and it's uncomfortable, but it forces you to have to get to some next level. It forces you to have to evolve. Facing your fears is necessary and kind of has to be done, because human progress is about growth, it's about evolution, and we're about evolving, and it's not about perfection, if that makes sense. It's not reaching some end result, but it is about evolving and being in a circle and in a cycle. And that means you kind of have problems, and to solve them you kind of have to face fears. You have to do things that are uncomfortable and that you don't want to do and that you're afraid of, but it's important because those things, they force you to grow and they force you to evolve, and that's kind of why you have to face fears. You don't have to do it all the time, you don't have to do it every single day, every single moment, but periodically, time to time, you have to make changes. You have to go and do things that you're afraid of, and it can't be enough to just adopt like good habits. Like, that kind of works, but it works to a certain degree. It can't be enough to just play it safe. You have to you have to face fears, you have to take risks, and you want to, Ray Dalio said this, I really liked it, was that you take risks that, like, kind of, you don't like bet the farm, you don't risk everything to where, like, if you lose you get knocked out of the game, but you take risks to the point that they're kind of high upside, low downside. So like you don't lose too much, but the upside is really high. But and that's looking at it logically. But then when you look at it and you're like scared as fuck, like it will feel like it's high risk, but maybe it isn't high risk, and maybe not doing it is actually the much more high risk thing. So you want to gain other people's perspectives, because they'll be able to tell you things and see things and point things out that you won't, and you want to kind of go off of that, and you want to seek that feedback. And other than that, you do kind of want to go in the direction of your fears, because they'll force you to grow. And what was I gonna say? Get other people's perspectives, and then it's like something else. Like, you have to be open-minded and kind of embrace reality, and willing to change things up, but you have to be kind of just willing to evolve and grow, and that means facing your fears. That means doing things that are uncomfortable, but that's kind of the only way to grow. And it's important, because if you don't do it, you stay the same, and it doesn't matter at how high a level you are. The best companies in the world have failed because they found a formula that like kept them winning, and they stuck to it, and they didn't change anything else, and then it didn't last forever. They failed to evolve at some point. They failed to go and do what they were afraid of at some point. So when that happened, they didn't adapt, they didn't evolve. Other competitors came, crushed them while they were doing the same thing, and they weren't meeting their customers' new, rapidly changing, ever-changing demands. Their customers' demands and needs and wants and preferences have changed, and they're not catering to that, and they're not meeting those needs anymore all of a sudden that they were for all these years. But if they didn't adapt, then someone else comes in and adapts to those customers, meets their needs, and wins those customers, and yeah, they kind of fail at that point. This is what happened to Netflix and fucking Blockbuster. Blockbuster went down and is out of business, and Netflix rose from those ashes and kind of built its empire on the downfall of Blockbuster, because Blockbuster failed to adapt, failed to face fears, and failed to do what was necessary. So it is difficult, it is painful, and sometimes it is for quite some time, but it is more painful to not face those fears, not go and do the thing. I'd say that successful people have some advantage, quote unquote successful people have some advantage more than the new person, only in that they've seen this process kind of before, but it doesn't necessarily make you any better at it or any stronger at it. Like, it's hard to face your fears, it's hard to do the things that like you don't want to do. Like, it's very against human nature, and it's very counterintuitive. It's kind of like betting against the consensus and having to be right. There are things that like intuitively don't make sense. They're scary, they're difficult, they're uncomfortable, they're frightening, terrifying, but then those things, they force you to grow a lot of the time. So if you don't see, if there's like not much risk and there's like high reward, high upside, go and do those things, go and try those things, because worst case you break even, and you kind of want to take more bets like that, like talking to a pretty girl. There's no downside, only upside, but it's fear that holds you back. So those are just some thoughts. I think it's general to in general, it's really good to face your fears, and it's extremely important. And you've never made it, you're never really successful. I mean, you're never, like, there's always a higher level, and the goal should be evolution and continuing to just grow as a person and make these decisions and face your fears. But if you don't, you stagnate and you kind of stay still for a while, and then you continue to deteriorate and you die. So you kind of don't want to have that, and you want to continue to evolve. So yeah, go face your fears. That's why you should kind of do that.